Good afternoon, guys. Welcome back to the channel. Today's video is the to be continued part of the Cleetus and cars burnout, engine destruction, or whatever you want to call it. Let's just do a quick little recap in case you missed that video of what happened.
Oh, brother. He done threw a rock. No way. Dude, this guy bombed me.
So if you haven't already, definitely go watch that video. That kind of summed it up on about what happened, but it is no secret that the Cateye blew up the 5.3 that was in it. Now, today's video is going to answer a lot of questions that I got on that video. Why did I do it? How did it do it? What is next? What are we going to do about it? First things first, let's get this thing off a trailer, and I'll answer all those questions in today's video. Alrighty, so I've got it here off the trailer. Now, before we get into this, I'm going to be completely honest. We did go in there with the intentions of either blowing the tires or blowing the engine up. I thought it might have went a little bit longer before it blew up, but I'm going to show you the damage, and then I'm going to kind of explain why we knew it was going to blow up. Alrighty, guys, so there is the oil pan, and you can see the size of the hole in which the pieces of rod flew out of. Now, the block itself is fine. It came out of the oil pan. I mean, the block, well, the motor's not fine. It's probably pretty bad, and the block is probably toast too, but it did shoot out of the oil pan and not the block. And that kind of leads to why when it hit the ground and everything, that's why pieces started shooting out and hitting the crowd at the event. Now, I'm going to get it out from underneath of here and show you guys the piece that Cleetus said when he said there's a wrist pin over here. There is a wrist pin over here. Piece that he found. Alrighty, so when Cleetus said that there was a wrist pin over here, this is right here what he was talking about. Now, this is the wrist pin. This piece is the rod. That is, if you know, for those of you who aren't super familiar, you know, here's where it hooks to the crank. There's supposed to be a bearing in there. This is what's left of the rod. The rod would have went up here, and on top of the rod would have been the piston. So it has completely sheared off from everything and decided to eject itself from the 5.3. So I apologize to the guy that it hit right in the mullet, but he didn't seem to have a problem with it. I think he thought it was cool. He was smiling and giving me the thumbs up once it happened. So all was good. Thankfully, nobody was hit and injured by it, but all went well, and it put on one hell of a show. Now, let me kind of address some questions that I did get in the video. The first being that the headers were painted red, and I don't know, they weren't painted red. They were just glowing that red. You can see there's my headers. They're not painted red. They are just regular stainless headers. They were glowing that red because, well, I'll get into why they were glowing that red here in just a minute. Now, the next thing is people were upset that I got on the hood of this truck. I have owned this truck for a very long time, and by that I mean I've had this truck for like 6 years. I know where to stand on the hood and not dent it. Here's the very spot that I stood on right here, and there is no dent, and there is no scratches. It is okay. I wasn't wearing big boots. It was tennis shoes. And of course I did it all in excitement, but I stood right here on the rigid part of the hood. We didn't dent in the hood, so don't worry too much about that. We didn't dent the hood. All is well, and all is well as far as the body goes, but the engine not so much. Now, let me get into why the headers were glowing as red as they were and why we knew that this truck was going to blow up. Now, if the battery wasn't disconnected, I would go ahead and pull it up on the tuner screen, which we're going to do that in a later video and kind of prove what happened, go back through the codes. The truck a few months back started throwing codes for being too lean. The tuning was never right in this engine, and if you've been here for a while, you know I was never happy with this engine anyway, and ultimately I was going to do something about it. It was going to come out, or I was going to completely replace it and redo it. And it's partially my fault. Some things I didn't do that I should have done. We had the oil pressure issue, which my guess was it was always bearings that were causing that problem, and the too lean code is ultimately what ended the life of this engine in the burnout box. The reason the headers were glowing so red is because of this thing was leaning out bad. Once it really started to glow, the misfires started coming on, and it was seconds after that when it started ejecting the rods out of the block. Now, when I heard him say that the headers were glowing red, I knew it was over. I looked at the temperature was fine. We were holding at 210 because the E-fans were moving plenty of air to keep it cool. But when they're glowing red, and the time that they were glowing red, I knew she was toast. I could have stopped and prevented the rod from shooting out of it, but it would have done me no good. The engine was toast at that point anyway. Once it shot, well, right before it shot the rod out, I started watching the oil pressure. Believe it or not, we were holding at 50 PSI of oil pressure at 6,400 RPM. Now, that's the other thing. It was 2 minutes at 6,400 RPM. You can even watch the video of the point where it was on the limiter for I don't know how long, and it was violent. The whole truck, you could watch me jolting when the engine was on the limiter at 6,400 RPM. I mean, I sent this thing to the moon. I mean, it was all or nothing. So once it had had enough and it had leaned out and it basically has cooked the internals, I guarantee it, it decided to eject the rod. It seized the bearings, snapped the rod off on the side of the block or at the bottom of the cylinder wall, I'm sure, and then proceeded to shoot it out the bottom of the block, which was epic. Now, I should have brought it with me. For those of you who don't know or don't follow the Instagram channel, I did win 3rd place in the burnout competition. I got the trophy. I got the 3rd place and the $500 prize and stuff like that. So it put on a good show. The judges liked it, and I'm glad that it went pretty good. I know some of you are still wondering why in the world I would blow up a potentially savable, rebuildable, or fixable 5.3. Let me show you. Come on inside of the shop here, and I'll show you what I got going on. And everything is about to make perfect sense as to why I blew the engine up. And no, it has nothing to do with that 5.3 sitting over there. That's going in that project car, so sorry. It's way better than that. It's a 6.0. So this is sitting right here in the shop, and now everyone behind their computers are going, oh, now I get it. See right there, 6.0. Got a 6.0 for the truck. It's sitting right here in the shop, ready for us to actually tear it down, send it off. All new bearings, board, new pistons, whole 9 yards, and get all the parts and get it put back in the Cateye. So sorry I left everybody out of the loop. Not even Instagram knew that I picked that engine up. But a 6.0 is in the shop, way better than a 5.3. The hell with that thing. I'm glad it's gone. It was awesome that it blew up. It was super entertaining. Everyone loved it. Glad Cleetus liked it. It was probably one of the greatest days of my life. I mean, I could not have had any more fun in Florida. And now we've got a 6.0 to put back in its place. So hopefully all you people who were kind of upset over me destroying the 5.3 are okay with it now that you know a 6.0 is coming. So I hope I didn't disappoint and just eliminating the 5.3. We had a couple of options in mind of boring that out, pulling it back out, flat tops, and the more we thought about it, and Cleetus and Cars was coming up, we wanted to go to it. It was just a perfect opportunity. And plus, the Cateye needed new tires anyway. So it didn't really matter if we destroyed them back here, which you can see, that's nice. Nice drag slicks now. It didn't matter if we destroyed that. And it also didn't matter anymore about the engine because we had a 6.0 sitting here in the shop. So I'm glad that it did what it did. And I wouldn't change it for anything. I wouldn't change a single thing about that day. If anything, I would like to do it again, but that's not going to happen because I won't do it to the 6.0. It was definitely a once-in-a-lifetime experience. So stay tuned. We're going to tear into that motor. We're going to hope that the heads are okay on it. It's not the end of the world if they're messed up. I know they were expensive heads because I would use the 317 heads, and I'm not even sure that that's going to work. With the smaller combustion chamber, that's going to be a conversation between Texas Speed and I about that. But we'll get into that and see the internal carnage on that because that's going to be interesting. And we'll get working on the 6.0. And it's nice today, but wintertime is here. The weather is getting ready to fall out the bottom up here in Virginia, and it's going to get cold. So it's kind of a perfect time to get up into the shop and do some work. And there's a lot to be done to this truck. There's a lot I have planned. The engine, and I'll go over everything else I want to do. Gears, tires, we need traction bars. It wheel hopped pretty bad at first in the burnout box. You guys could see that. That's definitely a must. And just some other piddly stuff that we need to do to the truck. I'd like to do a little bit of paint work in some areas that need to be touched up and stuff like that. So lots of stuff coming here for the Cateye, a whole nother build series for it, and I'm glad that it's going to be a 6.0. And I appreciate all of the positive comments we got on the last video. You guys overwhelmingly seem to loved it. And I want to thank everybody down there for the Cleetus and Cars event that put on that event. It was incredible, and I don't think it could have went any smoother given the amount of people that were at that event. They did an awesome job, and his film team and Project Prime, they've got a video of it up on their channel, and also there's videos of this truck everywhere on YouTube. Shout out to everybody that got a video of it. I'm glad that you enjoyed it and you got some content for your channel, and of course I've got my content here on my channel. So thanks again for watching. You can drop your comments or suggestions down in the comments section below, but stay tuned. I'll tell you about the plan for the 6.0, and we'll look into the carnage on that. I appreciate you watching. Take care. Have a great day.